The War Within M Plus Season 3 is finally here. There's no turning back now. And in this episode, I will show you how someone with zero tanking experience fights procrastination, goes through all stages of grief, and gets to the first successful M Plus runs. But first, a quick thank you to everyone who subscribed. I really appreciate the support. This Wednesday, I tried the billionaire morning routine. Of course, I'm talking about opening the vault. This is the first time I get to open that many in one day. I completed 4 delves on my 4 tanks last week, so I was hoping to get some tier pieces. I heard the professional WoW players saying that if there were no tier pieces in vault, they would take the socket. But I'm very far from being a professional, so I'll take any gear upgrade. Always check your loot specialization before opening the vault. On my paladin, I immediately saw the tier shoulders, but then, even before I moused over it, I realized that wasn't hero track gear. I completed 8 delves on my paladin, from level 4 to 7, and then 4 level 8 delves. In the first 2 slots, I had a mediocre trinket and gloves that didn't add much to my eye level. After a while, I decided to pick the gloves. I might use the catalyst to turn them into tier gloves later. On my DH, no tier, but I got braces. It was a nice upgrade. On my warrior, I got an insane shield, huge upgrade. On my monk, I had much better odds of getting an insane gear upgrade. I got some pants, can replace my blue ones now. Overall, out of my 8 vault slots of hero track gear, I saw no tier pieces, but still, I was satisfied. Getting upgrades at this stage feels pretty good. I was a bit resisting going into M+. To tell you the truth, I was just scared. The hardest part is to start actually doing them, failing, and cringing from the performance. But I convinced myself that before going into M+, I must obtain as much gear as possible. I looked at the weekly quests, I accepted the Timewalking one. Finishing 5 Timewalking dungeons for a champion track gear. If I'm not mistaken, in Season 2 I got on my DH Abyss Ring from the raid's last boss, from the Timewalking quest. What I enjoyed the most about playing the tank role is that I clicked on Find Dungeon and within a second the queue popped. It was the Wrath of the Lich King Timewalking week, so I knew the dungeons pretty well and took me around 30 minutes to complete 5 of them. And with that, I hurried to turn in the quest and I got braces, with the best stats for Prot Paladin. I was happy to replace my old green ones. I have the weekly quest for completing 3 delves. Also, bountiful delves are now available, so I headed to Nightfall Sanctum. I also remembered that I have to unlock level 11 delves for Gilded Crests as well. So I picked the level 9 difficulty. The delve took me around 13 minutes, which is a lot considering my gear. From the bountiful chest I got gloves. A bit unfortunate, but at this stage I only need 1 or 2 specific slots. I headed to the next level 10 delve, where I got the chance to blast mobs from a robot. The delve took me 12 minutes, I got a small neck upgrade. And now, the level 11 delve, Underkeep. I was minding my business when I got jumped by Keveza. The fight turned out to be extremely easy. The Goblin Mech fight from the last season was much more intense. Encountering Keveza meant that I would get something good once I beat her. I got a belt. It was a bit underwhelming. I expected to get a card that would get me the hero track gear at the end of the delve. But looks like they changed something. This delve was the longest, around 20 minutes. It's the highest difficulty level and plus the Kaveza ambush. I got a nice trinket upgrade at the end. Also, I completely forgot that delves also award you the currency that you need to upgrade the cloak. I wasn't just procrastinating, I was doing meaningful work to improve my gear situation. As much as I enjoyed delves, I thought I couldn't stall any longer. I had to start doing M+. I looked at the key I got from the vault. It was Floodgate +2. This pretty much decided from which dungeon I would start. I imported routes from a streamer into the MDT add-on. I started studying it. The huge difference from M0 is that now there is a timer and trash count. Now you just can't skip most of the trash, and tank is also responsible for an optimal route and the trash count. So I thought running Floodgate on normal difficulty should be my first step to memorize the exact mobs and pulls to get the exact count. The first pull is pretty straightforward, my movement is a bit clumsy, so after each pull I open the MDT, visually scout the mobs I need, and then try to gather them together as fast as possible, which currently is the opposite of that. I get familiar with which mobs I have to interrupt. It's a good thing that I encounter issues that prevent me to get all the mobs in one pool, so that I'm ready in the actual M+ dungeon. I start to understand from which mobs I should start the pool. So obviously I didn't finish the normal run. I practiced the first couple of pulls, from there the route was pretty straightforward. I had a rush of confidence, so I listed my key in LFG. I let people know right away that I'm a new tank by putting that in the group title. No one applied within the first 80 seconds. Anxiety started to kick in. I thought that maybe people were afraid to trust a new tank. But in the end, it turned out just fine. Within 3 minutes, I had my group ready to go. The DPS shaman also warned me that he was also new, and that was a good thing. I wanted to have a challenge. As a tank, I linked the route, initiate, ready check, but then, due to being nervous, I couldn't find the countdown button. And I tried to type in the pull command in the chat, but I typed in pull 7. When it said unknown command, I got even more lost. Pull timer add-ons were invented in 2007, people in 2006. Also, I had some other add-on for the M+ timer and count info, which confused me at the start, but I will deal with this later. So here we go, my first M+ pull. After the normal difficulty, in Mythic Plus, mobs hit way harder. While I was gathering the mobs, I procced my cheat death and my cloak. I didn't die, and I was doing what I thought good DPS. I failed to kick a lot of casts, but this skill level is a bit forgiving. Immediately, I'm off to get to the next pool. I failed the jump, but nailed the next. The next pack seemed easy. I kicked lots of casts and was doing good DPS. Our new shaman started to have internet issues, and I wasted no time. I opened the MDT to look at the route, to make sure I get the third pull right. Unfortunately, I missed a mob right there. I started feeling more confident. I realized that I can actually sustain my HP and not die. There were of course close calls and people pulling trash they weren't supposed to. The next boss was fun. I knew that the last charge was always on tank, so I managed to hit 3 bombs at once, and then 2. My group killed the first part of the boss while the other had 45% HP. I thought I wouldn't be able to live through the enraged boss. On the Big Mama boss, I nearly wiped the group. I didn't notice the important cast and let it channel the whole duration, but I didn't let it happen anymore. I was ready for the future casts. We dealt with the boss, only the new shaman died. On the next pull, he said that he needed to fix his internet connection, but the timer didn't look too good to me. Also, I learned another lesson. I always have to apply the paladin's chant on the weapon before each dungeon. The buff expired mid-pull. At this point, I realized that there was no way we would time this dungeon. Our DPS was low, and without the shaman, things were looking even worse. Then, after a while, he came back, but the retry paladin got chained with him and couldn't dodge the frontal. Pulling a huge pack without any defensives is what I do quite often. If there was no cheat death proc, I would die so many times in this dungeon. I wasn't mad at the shaman. Anyone could have sudden internet issues, and plus he warned us right away that he was new, so he did as much DPS as he could. This pool had so many casters, and with low DPS we just couldn't keep up with kicks, but to my surprise we managed to stay alive and kill him. I figured how to use my heals and utility with mouse overs and LUI. I healed as much as I could. This is why I don't like Salatath. Once the timer ran out, she said, "What a disappointment you are. So much for my favorite mortal." Still, I was feeling good about myself. I didn't die a single time, and with that I was so slow to press bubble, got stunned, and an overlapping tank buster, and this is my first death in the season 3. It takes a while, but the paladin rests me. Let's pretend that my death didn't happen. At least I learned that the water paddle stunned you. At least this time I had the cheat death proc and I managed to use bubble. We were 2.5 minutes too late, but it's alright. This is exactly what I pictured the start of the M+ journey would look like. I still get my first Rio. The shaman DM'd me after the run. He said he was sorry. I told him not to worry about it, could happen to anyone. I didn't know that if you don't time your own key, the key changes to another dungeon. But I was extremely focused on Floodgate. So I went to LFG for another +2 Floodgate, and a minute later I was invited. This group was much more powerful than the previous one. Of course I didn't press a defensive on the first pack, but the mobs melted so fast. I then got stuck in a washing machine trying to get to the second pull, but I acted like it was part of my plan. And of course I pulled a redundant patrol. Look at me, I'm learning, I'm pressing a heavy defensive right away. I know how hard it is as a DPS player to wait for tank to gather mobs and get threat, so I struggled this pull a little. The two bosses were extremely easy, 12 minutes in and we were already at the third boss. So far we are 10 minutes faster than the last run. I failed to get a lot of threat and the walker went insanely hard on these mobs. I failed him as a tank. It doesn't matter how much you're pumping, the waves are unforgiving. The last boss was also a walk in the park. This is officially my first time M+ dungeon. Feeling confident from the successful run and not dying a single time, I thought I could handle a +3 Floodgate. Within the next minute I was invited. It's fun playing tank. As I was too busy celebrating the time dungeon, I forgot to link the route. This time, I instantly pressed bubble even without proccing the cheat death. This group also looks pretty strong. This time around, I approached the second pull from a different angle. Using lay of hands is very satisfying. I've been always curious what would happen if I ran into the circle, but now I know. The next pull is a disaster. I can't quickly gather mobs, there's no threat. Here I failed to kick the cast, even though I had the wrath up, and thus killing my mage. I guess I learned nothing from my first dungeon. Once again, the paladin's weapon enchant expired mid-dungeon. I managed to get 2 bombs far away from each other. I tried to save the healer with Hand of Sacrifice, but it was too late. I immediately res him. Then, accidentally, I decided to try out the speedrun tactic to quickly get to the next pull. I thought I would survive. I didn't want to use lay of hands for this. Well, at least I made my healer laugh. I didn't have time to pull the 4 mobs with the boss. By trying to amend the situation, I nearly died. On the next pull I thought I could manage without bubble, alas, nearly died. I disrespect the tank buster ability and proc cheat death. This mechanic is a blessing for beginners. I would be a millionaire if I got $1 each time I procced it. People in my group decided to take on surfing, which didn't turn out to be a success. I saved one with lay of hands and battle res the other, surfing enjoyer. It's always the rule to go left on the frontal when tethered, but I was closer to the right edge and this way I killed the rogue which ran left. The last boss easily fell and I got +14 Rio. For my very first +3 dungeon. I didn't notice any difficulty increase. However, at times the fights were intense. At this point I thought I could skip a +4 and get into +5. I applied and got declined, so I guess I have to prove to people that I could do a +4 first. I was invited to a +4 shortly after. I reapplied the chant before going to the dungeon, but still forgot to link the route before the start. I pressed bubble right as I got all mobs together. This is an improvement. The group is also strong. I completely forgot that now there is an affix. Every 2 minutes or so, orbs appear that are casting something, and they need to be interrupted. On Paladin is a bit problematic. On DH it could be done with a single sigil, but here I rely on my group a lot. One huge improvement I see throughout the run is that I press defensives on huge pulls right away. I don't save them until I nearly die anymore. I was so busy dealing with the affix that I missed the boss's charge and didn't clear a single bomb. The other problem I noticed is that I don't evaluate the boss's position and try to stick to the route. Here I try to pull the mobs first and then the boss, which causes the boss to kill our healer, and due to the chaos I nearly died as well. I didn't notice it before, but all this time there was a weak aura timer for the mobs casts. I used to be super focused to kick at any time. The healer decided to run to the void zone to dodge the mechanic. Maybe I wasn't placing the boss in the right way. This time around, there was also a victim of the waves. The affix is very annoying. I get so focused on the affix that I might not press a defensive for a tank buster. With a +4 done, I was sure that people would have a choice but to invite me into a +5. I was right. Within 30 seconds I was invited to a +5 Floodgate. This time around, I'm not even nervous. I know what to do. I've practiced a lot. This is my 5th Floodgate run this evening. I know what to press and when to press it. My movement is much better between the pulls. The other thing I need to work on is standing in my own consecration. I tend to run out all the time. Accidentally, I stepped on the bomb. It sent me flying to the void zone. That stunts. Good thing I'm playing Paladin and I had my bubble. With lots of mobs, affix, I got dizzy and started running like crazy collecting all bombs. I hit the insane trick shot and get 2 bombs at once. This run, I'm very good at the bombs mechanic. One more thing I need to work on is pulling the mobs and gathering them together as fast as possible, so that I don't lose all my HP while pressing no buttons. Yeah, this is exactly what I'm talking about. I'm so determined to get the trash, I just run and try to use judgment on them. Well, I have full holy power and bosses hitting me on my back. This time around, there were no waves enjoyers. To me, the difficulty looks the same as it was in plus 2. Still, one mistake and I might die. The fights are intense. When I'm at low HP, I panic a lot, and the first instinct is to kite. Our timer is looking great, and the most important part is that I haven't died a single time. I'm not sure if I'm getting too much confidence in the low keys, I don't know. Well, a plus 5 key is now done. I'm having lots of fun. Even when we failed to time my first plus 2, I still had a blast. Lots of experience. Better to make mistakes in the lowest keys. So, this is going to be my strategy for climbing the M+ ladder. I got 1 out of the 8 dungeons down. I learned the route, the mobs, casts, boss tank busters, movement. I will continue exploring other dungeons, starting from a normal run to get familiar with the route, and then from a plus 2 until I get bored from running the same dungeon. This is it for this episode. Let me know in the comments what you think about my strategy. I know it's time consuming to run from a plus 10 and incrementing by 1, but I don't see any other way of learning the ropes. People wouldn't want to invite a tank with 200 Rio to a plus 7 or 10 without me having a plus 6 or plus 9. Thank you for watching, like, subscribe, so that I will see you in the next one.